I'm Jay-Z.
I'm Daniel.
This is Just My DIY.
We like lasers and we like sublimation.
So we've been searching for materials that we can both cut in a laser as well as sublimate on successfully.
And we're gonna call it SUBLASERMATION.
That's what he's gonna call it. But in the meantime, we have found 4 different materials that meet these criteria that we cut on the Glowforge and sublimate on to get great colors. And we found one that you think is gonna work and absolutely does not.
We have a lot to get to, so let's start right about now. Before we show you what's what, we're going to head over to designbundles.net and find a nice bright geo design so we can show off the talents.
So we put that inside Photoshop, and then we need to go into our print settings. Of course, selecting the right printer and the right size paper is the first thing you always do when you're printing, but really what's most important are when we get into the paper and quality settings. We always choose premium presentation paper matte and best quality when we're doing sublimation prints on sublimation paper.
The print button will send it over to the EcoTank 15000, which has been set up with Hippo sublimation ink, and of course you can see that's their paper coming out too.
Note that when you print out a sublimation print, the colors will not look right. They will pop after they have been heated. So now we need to size our SVG, and honestly with such an odd sized SVG, the easiest thing for us to do is to put the printout inside the Glowforge and then just manually size it on screen. This didn't have to be exact because we're just demonstrating the materials, and that's how we did it.
Our first material is going to be Unisub white hardboard. Johnson Plastics Plus has this in many different styles, two-sided, one-sided,
matte, glossy, big, small. We typically buy a bigger sheet and cut it down because we have the power tools to do that.
That's me.
Daniel is quite the power tool.
Hey, wait a minute.
We're going to show you our Glowforge settings. For this Unisub hardboard, it's 135 on the speed at full power, but note that we're in a Glowforge Pro, which has slightly more wattage than the Plus or Basic. So just keep that in mind. Of course, always set your material size. We're using a laser. This was 0.13. Then we're going to position it properly and go over to that print button. All of these print out around a minute. This one's the longest at 1:10, but it really doesn't take that long to do this kind of a shape in any of these materials. They're all one pass.
Of course, once it's done, we're going to pull it out and pop it out. And peel it. We want all that masking off of it, so obviously we can sublimate on the nice shiny white stuff. There we go.
Of course, anytime you have a hard sublimation blank, you want to clean it with some alcohol before getting everything ready to be pressed. We're using heat-resistant tape, and we will link everything down below that we use. The biggest thing to keep in mind, blowout paper always to protect your press, as well as make sure that the design's on the top side where the heating element is. This was 400 degrees for 65 seconds to sublimate onto Unisub hardboard.
Have your glove because it's hot. I mean, it's literally 400 degrees, so have your glove.
But look at how bright that turned out. Of course it did, because this was made for sublimation, much like this next material, which is Sublimation Cast Acrylic.
Also from Johnson Plastics Plus. You do not have but one option for size.
It is almost 12 by 12. But this is a newer material that we started seeing in the last couple of months. Thanks to Johnson Plastics Plus for providing us this sheet to work with. First thing we are going to do though is we're going to pull off the plastic matting.
And we're going to put our own masking on it. We're going to work it into place using this, what do we call it, a burnisher, a squeegee?
It's a felt tip squeegee. We'll link it down below, but we don't always trust these plastic coatings that come on materials because we don't know what they are.
So we're using the masking stuff we know that works. Do note that we did mark the side that is the white so we know which direction everything is facing.
That's a really good point. So this sublimation acrylic is white on one side, clear on the other. We'll give you a close-up of that in a little bit, but you do need to know which side is up so you know whether or not to mirror your SVG. Its thickness is 0.16, and the cut settings, which we will go into now, is going to show
145 on the speed and full power.
And one pass.
So if you're in the market for a Glowforge,
You should check out our description where we have a referral link that'll give you up to $500 off your purchase, as well as give us a little something in return.
All right, so now we're going to pop this out and peel it so that you can see how awesome it is. White on one side is very obvious. The harder to see is this side is actually clear. And you can kind of see on the edge where...
Yeah, so you see the clear is a little bit glossier and the white's a little matte feeling. But of course, we're going to sublimate on that white side, so that is the side we're going to clean with the alcohol.
We place our design. Of course, we still pull out that heat-tolerant tape and tack it down in place.
And then once that is down, always, always, always paper side up.
Ask us why we say this so often.
Because we still make that mistake. And we double check to make sure it's paper size up. And this sublimates at 360 degrees for 105 seconds.
Still have your heat gloves ready. The pink looks so good on me.
It's really your color.
Now this is a little bit bendy, warpy, like most of these cast acrylics will be, so we put it through our patented flattening process using Bobo.
We talk a lot more about how acrylics can cup as they cool, but for now, the sublimation acrylic on the white side doesn't look as good, but wow, look at how much that pops when you turn it over.
Now we're just going to move on to a regular cast acrylic.
There's two kinds of acrylic, cast and extruded, and you can actually sublimate on any cast acrylic, and you're not going to have the same results as that sublimation stuff, but we're going to use a proof grade clear acrylic, which is 170 speed at full power to cut, and we don't need to do the thickness because it recognizes the material, and this time is going to be 42 seconds. So we do have a full video on sublimating on acrylic, but we'll show you the basics here.
And of course, you can see us peeling the masking off of the clear acrylic and giving it a nice clean down with our alcohol and a microfiber. And it's super easy to place this one.
It's almost like you can see right through it.
Again, this heat resistant tape gets us our tack it down. And we're going to have our blowout paper.
Chomp chomp.
So make sure again and keep your design up towards the heat element.
Always checking that. And this will actually sublimate at 380 degrees for 60 seconds. The time and temperature is the same whether you do clear or white acrylic. So we're only showing you the full process here on the clear.
We are flattening each and every one of these. You can see on this one there's actually some paper stuck to it, but we want to flatten it before we handle that. So Bobo, do your job.
Good boy. Good sit. Once we pull it out to get that paper off, we're just going to need a little bath.
Yeah, we're going to soak it in some water, and once we have it soaked in the water for a while, we're going to take a sponge and we're just going to kind of buff that little bit of paper off.
Gently though, you don't want to scratch your acrylic, so we are using this softer side of the sponge, and this is how it turned out. You can back a clear acrylic. Again, our other video shows you a bunch of different options for backing it.
But here's the same thing using the white cast acrylic. We had to do the same process of soaking it and buffing the extra paper off of it.
And look at how good that turned out. I mean, that is so nice and bright and beautiful. So definitely both options. Now we're going to move on to wood, which is a little different, but we really like sublimating on wood.
Wood has a little bit different of a thing to it. Since it's not a white or a clear background, your colors aren't going to show through as truly as if it was a white background.
That's right. You'll get a different tone in it, but it's still very pretty. And we'll actually show you a project at the end that works really well. This particular wood is going to cut at 235 in full power in a single pass. This is from Home Depot, and we will link it down below, of course. It is 0.16 for its thickness, and it cuts the fastest actually at around 30 seconds. So once we let it go through its process, we're going to take it out, and we did have some masking on there. We mask everything, as you can probably tell at this point, but we're going to place it down and use our heat resistant tape again.
Here's our blowout paper.
Paper side up.
Close it, swing it, squeeze it.
And so this sublimates at 380 degrees for 60 seconds. And once that time is up, you will see what we're saying where like the sublimation looks different on wood because there's no white base to a sublimation ink. So you get more of that wood feel, but there's still some pretty colors that come through. Now for the one material that you should not actually sublimate on. If you look on the Glowforge forums, they say so much like, oh, there's like this eucalyptus board at Home Depot that works. Well, it is not the Eucatile white hardboard thrifty board. This looks like a Unisub board, so it's so deceptive. It's white, it's glossy, it says it has an acrylic coating on it. But when it comes out of the heat press, how is it so faded? Just don't sublimate on Eucatile. It's great for many other things.
So here we have kind of a final summation. The
wood, Unisub, clear acrylic, white acrylic, and then the sublimation acrylic there on the end. And just look at so many different options. Here's a nice project idea with sublimating black lyrics onto wood. Make your own pattern acrylic, or beautiful artwork using the Unisub board. So we hope that this helped you expand your world and possibilities of what you can create through lasering and sublimation. And don't forget that if you're in the market for a Glowforge, which we highly recommend, we have a referral link in the description that will give you up to $500 off your purchase, as well as give us a little something in return.
And if it did open up your world, you should give us that thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell. If you have any other materials you're curious about going between the laser to the sublasermation, then go ahead and comment that out in the comment line. And of course, everything that we use to do this is listed out in the description.
Also in the description are links to all of our social handles. Please connect with us across platforms. We love hearing from you. And don't forget to check out our blog at justmightdiy.com. Thanks for watching.